Morning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Richard Handelsman here. Suzanne Saranac. And Michael Zaslow.
Here.
It's a, you know what, it's a tie, it's a 5-5, there's a one committee that I count for, I count for quorum.
Oh, I know, I want to change that in the bylaws.
Well, right now, we're at it, what do we do in the case of a 5 and 5?
Oh, well, technically, it has to be a majority of the people.
So it
That's
needs to
not
be
a
at least
majority.
6, we need at least one
Well,
more.
hopefully your 12:30, they're ready to show up.
Well, didn't you say someone's on the way?
Yeah,
She had to, yeah, she's.
well, hopefully. she's-
All right, I apologize to everybody, let me just finish with the officers.
Just make a notation that.
Yeah, Fausto Favreau, here, I'm here, of course, David Boas.
Yes.
Patricia Caputo,
Absent.
Dominic Renaggio,
He's here.
Yeah, he just walked by.
Kelly Jensen. Stuart Richland, Jerry Sutowski.
He was here.
He was here.
He's
here.
Was here.
Is he staying? He might not say. Well, I can't, he's not in the room, so. David Israel. And Donald Foster.
You're on Zoom.
All right, so we're gonna go on the assumption that one more member will join us. And I apologize, Chris was supposed to be dialing in. I thought, I just as I sat down to turn the machine on. It seems that I scheduled it for 12:30. I changed it back to 12, but it printed at 12 as 12:30, so. I am sorry, that
What's
was
printed as 12?
the invitation that went out.
Oh, okay.
So it's confusing, our meetings are always at 12 o'clock and the Zoom credential went out with 12:30 on it, so
So we might get a Zoom in. at
we might get,
12:30.
we might get a Zoom in at 12:30. I apologize for that. In the meantime, we can go ahead and. I don't know, we'll go ahead and review the minutes and
Yeah.
just accept them and make a notation. I would entertain a motion if anybody will make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Tony and
Okay.
Michael. Thank you. All right, the budget approval process, I think we've kind of gone through that a lot, but so we can just zip right through the budget. It really hasn't changed since we spoke about it last month. We did present it to the town hall meetings, to two of them. No significant changes were made, a lot of very good discussion came up, and I think a lot of people got educated on how we process our budget, and I did get some, questions after the meeting. But fundamentally, we haven't significantly changed anything as far as going forward. A lot of work went into this. Chris really spent an awful lot of time going through the contracts with me and making sure that we understood what, really, what have we been paying historically?
Increase.
Yeah, so the bottom line is, as it sits right now. This looks like it's $7.43 increase.
Not for the increase.
A monthly increase per unit, per month. Which I know everybody, all they wanna do is turn to the web and find that out, And since it will be published to the blog probably tomorrow, if I can, you will
Tomorrow
find out.
will be too late.
No, you're gonna
Oh,
get
to
this
the blog,
today,
okay.
Barring any unforeseen
Yeah,
problems,
yeah.
we're gonna publish this to the paper. Here's Chris Shepherd. Oh, he's coming in.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I just like, so people don't come in here and correct me if I'm wrong. The associations then take that $7.43 per unit and divide it according to the base,
They have their own formula.
correct?
Yes.
But our basic charge is $7.43 per unit.
Right. And then they put that into their formula.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
No,
it's
it's an increase of $7.
an increase.
So it's
Yeah.
whatever the base is, which is the 95, what did we say?
And with some
Yeah, but that's-
associations spread that.
With that, that's what I'm saying, each association has their own way of
Allocated.
allocating how they
Percentage of
charge that
ownership.
$7.43 per
Percentage
unit.
of ownership.
You multiply this by the number of units in that association. And then
Get the
you
whole
add it
rounded
up
up,
as you,
Yeah,
like I'm in a 2, I pay more than a 1, 1.5, and
That's why I said that, so people don't get confused by it.
yeah, it's through the association,
Correct.
yeah, that's what we charge the association.
Right.
How they charge the end user is a matter of their documents and how they calculate, yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
The contractual things don't change, it's per unit,
Yes,
not by the square footage. Other services,
yeah,
others maintenance and stuff like that, but these are the contract, the bus, the cable and that.
yeah, none of that,
None
no,
of that changes.
no.
So. According to this, the charge would be $102.86 per unit. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Not $7, it's an addition.
Right.
The current is 95.43.
Right,
and
right.
Now it's gonna go up to 100,
102.
almost $103.
Right, right, and then. So the good news is that at the end of the day, your total outlay between your WPRF and your association. Is gonna be almost a wash, it's gonna be a negligible couple of dollars, in the end, which I think is fantastic. For a first year, going through a budget that really hasn't been fine combed
In 4
in
years.
4 years. And it's just, I'm just very happy that we were able to work this to the extent that we have, without any, and a lot of community input, a lot of, talking to our residents and asking, what can we do? How do we improve services and whatnot? Done.
Okay, so just to be clear for me, the net effect on our unit owners, WPRF combined with UCO will be an increase of
Under $5.
Under $5.
Under $5.
$3.
I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier, and we have torn this thing apart. Everybody has looked at it and looked at it again, and gone to the contracts and, really tried to make sure that. And Chris, welcome, you can attest to this, that I've driven you crazy for the last 2 months.
I think it's appropriate for something like this. It needs to be looked over heavily.
There is somebody at the door, so if you'll.
Where-
I can hear somebody. Yes, we need a quorum, we're waiting for one person, and I'm hoping that,
Okay,
Where is this under $5 coming?
because there's a reduction from WPRF, so your WPRF will be down a little, will be up a little, but
Yeah, I'm not worried about that, this is just this budget here.
this budget here will go up by $7.43.
Barring any change.
Barring any changes, and right now. Unless somebody dials in and we have a major. Change, or a major oops that I haven't seen.
So along with all of the increases are in there, that the contracts.
Yes,
Part,
yes,
the
we-
second year, for the block,
Yeah.
for the third year,
Yeah.
that's the most important.
Yesterday, WPRF said their security was going up for 5%.
And that's what
We got the same increase.
Yeah.
Chris,
Okay.
we put 5% in for the security, didn't we?
Yes.
yes, we did.
I just wanna make sure.
If someone's still looking.
I can check the back door.
Nobody, okay, sorry.
Actually, Joanne, we put 2.5%.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Really?
why did we put 2.5%?
We did WPRS budget yesterday, and they said they increased it by 5%.
We just put in.
Okay,
No, 2.5% is still transportation.
oh, sorry, you are correct.
Yeah, no, I think we put 5 in, because we're 5 last
We
year.
did, we did. You're absolutely correct. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Can I, we have a new guest, can I pass this down? Have you signed in?
Oh, okay. I'd like to join the finance committee if I could.
We need to have you fill out an application.
Sure.
And, the next officers meeting, I will go ahead and get
Great,
you approved.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was at the clubhouse
Yeah.
and I walked on the club.
Oh, no.
So then I had to walk back.
Oh, my God.
God, good for you.
You got a bicycle club for two, don't you, Richard?
Yeah,
She can certain that between our back
Under
wheels,
gas.
there's a cave.
under guest.
All right.
Right here, on that way hand. Thank you.
I'm just. Anyway, the contracts, we went through all the, each of the contracts. So, yeah. And,
But a minimal increase.
yeah, and I, you know, I think that overall, I was very, very pleased.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right,
So.
that being said, would you like to go through again, or does anyone have any specific questions? This could be a very short meeting, if you've all looked at this before and have been looking.
Everything on there.
Yes.
Okay, I sent you an email last week.
Yes,
I don't know if you got it. I have a couple of questions.
okay,
One is, we have all our money now in Truist, is that correct?
yes,
Is that all FDIC insured?
absolutely, they're in what's called sweep accounts.
Okay,
And every day, at the end of business, the system automatically looks at the accounts. And moves the money that's over 250,000 is moved automatically to another bank account, in another bank.
oh,
And that's all managed by Truist.
okay, great,
And
great.
we basically don't pay anything for it.
Well,
There
there
is a similar program called a Cedars program.
right,
And that Cedars sweep pays 1%.
right,
And that's what we've talked about, moving our money for next year, getting it laddered into the Cedars program with Truist. So that at least it's making at 1%, we're still not paying anything, there's no fees. But we make $100,000 basically.
okay, so my question was, have you shopped that to see if other banks?
I'm not in the business, that's not my, in other words, I'm not a money manager.
Well, who manages our money?
Truest right now.
Truist.
Well,
manages our money.
1% is really terrible.
Okay, but we're
Commercial
not.
account.
We're a commercial account,
It's still terrible.
okay? And I'm still saying that 1% is what our bank is offering us. If we are to do anything else, we would have to have the committee approve a money management company to come in and make a proposal to us.
How about members of the committee shopping it to other banks?
I don't know that we can do that because we're not certified money managers. This is a very highly regulated industry.
What did you write about we know? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Investment of
we're-
money.
We're in the where's the cash part of the budget and how we're.
That's the good part.
you know,
Could you try to negotiate it with them at a higher
I'm not a
rate?
money manager.
It's just common
Yes,
sense, it's not a money
I've asked
manager.
for their proposal, and it's been given to me.
Right, and we accept it as it is. We don't go
Absolutely,
back
it's a
and try to
product.
negotiate.
It's a product, it's like going to the car dealer and saying, what are you gonna charge me for this car? And the price is the price.
No, and then you go back and say, well, I'll offer you this much, and you negotiate it. Why
I'm
you
not a
gotta
money
go that way?
manager.
I've managed money,
Okay,
I've had a business and I've managed money, and I know you can negotiate with people, you don't
well,
take their first.
can I let Chris, I know you can't see him, he's in back, he's raising his hand. Chris,
Hi,
can you-
Chris.
Hello, I might be able to help with some insight on this.
Okay.
So Yuko's hands have been tied as far as what kind of investments can be done.
Yeah,
And in the past, we have had CDs that we've laddered and we've done investments, but the investments that we're able to do have to be extremely low risk. Because we're dealing with everybody's money here.
right.
So in any low risk situation, there's low reward. And it's unfortunate that that's what we're required to do, but it's also very fortunate that that's all we're allowed to do. I think that you're right. We definitely do need to be looking into other options, and we are. And I think that it's a process, and it should be a process. The more people that are aware of this and that are able to put input into this, the better. And I think the finance committee is currently working on that also. But it's a bit of a minefield to work through to make sure that any question that arises from any of the delegates is able to be answered concisely and appropriately. And I think that's what we're doing too, is we want to make sure that we're not being reckless at all. We want to make sure. So, and unfortunately nowadays with the bigger banks, you can't just walk in there and say, no, that rate's not good, I don't want it. I know you can do a better rate, because a lot of the times they can't. The
But
better
there's
rates are,
competition.
and
There's competition out there. I mean,
there is competition, and you're right. There are other banks that offer better introductory rates that usually drop off after about 6 months. And moving this
Right.
amount of money that often, not only does it mess up our payables and everything else, it's a large process. It's a large process to move this kind of money. And if we just keep jumping around trying to get introductory rates, we're going to be constantly chasing our tail. So I think there is a long-term answer to this that is safe and effective and will get us the most that we can for our money while still allowing us to be comfortable and to make sure that we don't have to completely uproot the day-to-day operations in order to do so.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
The
Thank you.
paperwork would be horrible.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, we're not set up for that, we're not, we're an all volunteer group, Chris is a consultant that we pay. And can tell us what it would cost, I mean, in man hours, it would become quite expensive. So right now, we're doing everything we can to manage the money we have efficiently. And with the staff that we have at hand, and to work towards something a little more lucrative. I mean, I'm already making, a nice return, 4% return on one little money market. I mean, that at least gets us out of the weeds, so we've taken that into consideration going forward in a conservative way and still kept our budget what I think is very reasonable and help reduce costs.
well, everything goes up, so it went up $7, which is not a lot. But everything goes up, so, when you have people on fixed incomes, we should be trying to reduce it, not add another $10 here and $10 there. I mean, that's my,
Tell the insurance companies.
Yeah.
pardon me?
Tell the insurance companies.
I know.
It's 300%.
I know,
To cut
no, I.
back.
I'm not gonna advise that we incur risk.
Right.
to reduce our coupon
Absolutely not.
because it's
Can
improved.
I ask one question? So are you looking for better rates? Are you looking for other alternatives in the future?
Yes,
Okay, good,
yes.
all right.
I mean, we're.
And anything I could do to help, so that's
Thank
why I
you.
want to be on
Yeah,
the committee.
Then, you gotta realize, I've only been here since March doing this.
Yeah,
So we're trying to be very cautious, be careful, do as much homework as we can, and bring concerns up, we wanna.
well, the banking gentleman that was at the last meeting, and I forget his
Julius.
name. He said, when you're dealing with this kind of money, you may want to deal with a higher up person than the local guys, because the local guys can't do anything, but the higher ups can, and this is a substantial amount of money.
Okay,
Yeah.
we do have people other than the local branch people. We do. I mean, we have a whole team around the country from Truist, that help me with different aspects of the
I
account.
think they're really screwing us, but that's just me.
Well, I think we should put it on the table. We had another bank that was charging us to play with our money.
Right,
Oh, that's ridiculous.
that was,
Well, it was there for 4 years
yes,
and we did nothing.
Yeah.
And Joanne put it all together so that we can move forward.
Good,
So it's not. We're treading very lightly and we're limited by our bylaws,
I understand
what we
that.
can do.
yeah, it's not a rowboat, it's the Queen Mary.
I understand.
Hello, everybody.
12:30.
I'm sorry, it got confused. It's my
So
fault.
sorry, I'm late.
No, that's confused. Laura's here. And welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
I have.
Now you got your quorum.
Yeah, I have a quorum. Can you,
Hands off.
and is there some extra?
Yep.
Donald,
Oh, thank you.
Sure, Donald?
Hi, this is the new lady,
Joanne,
Joanne.
another
Welcome,
Joanne.
welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
I think you find that you spend more time with the committee. You've got a lot of these questions that you have in the first 10 minutes you've been here, and we'll begin. So just give it time and you'll see that there is a process here.
Okay.
It's like you, Joe, you said you quit there, or you, Joe?
Yeah, he's,
You have to be patient and you don't want it crashing into an iceberg. I'm gonna give, since it was definitely my fault that this all happened, I'm gonna jump on the agenda, if it's okay, to old business. Because we, in a past meeting, approved doing a reserve study, putting some money into the budget, and we spoke to Chris and Mike Murkowski about how to handle this. And what we're gonna do is utilize some of the funds that are in the infrastructure budget. And start looking at what it cost to do a reserve study, and Will, you're on.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're straight.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, my name is Will Simons and I'm with a company called Association Reserves. And we are the oldest and largest reserve study provider in the country, actually. I manage our Florida office. We have about 16 offices throughout the country now. And I oversee all of our staff and clients in Florida. Been in touch with Donald Foster. Actually, we spoke earlier today. And he asked me to just kind of join the meeting today and answer any questions that you might have about reserves, reserve studies, or what goes into that process, what you get in terms of an outcome from doing a reserve study. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can just talk in general about what we do, if you like. Was there anything specifically that you were interested to know more about?
I think Donald gave you sort of a very brief overview of what we have here that UCO has reserves for.
He did, yes. Yeah, and we've done studies for some of the condo associations within Century Village there, so I'm generally familiar with the community as it is, but Yeah, so the explanation that I've got is, you know, you have thousands of owners there, you have hundreds of condo associations. None of that falls under the jurisdiction of UCO. My understanding is it's the roads, the infrastructure, the drainage, the fencing and signage, you know, things like that that are kind of common elements of the overall development, but not recreational facilities and not anything residential in nature. Is that generally accurate?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
can
so
can you
we-
talk to that a little bit about what your company might be able to do for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that may not be familiar, a reserve study is basically a long-term financial plan that communities use to make sure they're saving up for major projects. So in your case, probably the single biggest component that we would include in your study would be repaving the roads. Typically in South Florida, asphalt roads last anywhere from 20 to 25 years before you need to repave them. And when that happens, especially for such a large community as you've got, that can easily be a high 6-figure or 7-figure project. So the idea is that if you look out far enough in advance and you kind of, you know, plan for when that's going to occur and you know what it's going to cost, you can start budgeting for that accordingly in the present day so that you're basically spreading the cost of the project over a much longer period of time. It's over the lifespan of the asset. And that way, everybody who comes and goes throughout the community is paying into this reserve fund each year, which eventually will be used to take on that project. And that would apply for the roads, but also all the other elements that UCO is responsible for. So it's a way of basically tackling your long-term, you know, funding obligations through ongoing annual budgeting contributions. That way, hopefully the goal is that you never experience a big special assessment or a loan for projects that were otherwise very predictable and that you could have been planning for all along. So what we do in our study is the first part of a reserve study is called the physical analysis. That's where we'll come out and just identify all of the things that you should be planning for, whether that's a road, a fence, you know, a sign, a light pole, you know, mailbox kiosk, you know, whatever it is that you've got there. We do a physical analysis to identify what those things are, to quantify them. So we're going to take measurements, take photos, do a condition assessment to determine what condition everything is in now. And then we use that to put together the future timeline for those costs, right? So if we say that your roads have another 10 years of life, let's say, and 10 years from now, it's going to cost $2.5 million, just picking a number. We would then do a financial analysis where we look at how much money you have in your reserves at the present and whether or not that's going to be sufficient and by how much you need to increase that balance each year so that when that road project comes along, you pay for it, you have new roads, and it's not a big financial disruption to the community. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. You know, we've got a staff of a bunch of folks with different engineering backgrounds, architectural, construction management backgrounds. And then we also have kind of the finance and accounting side of what we do, which goes into the financial recommendations portion. So yeah, that's what we do. We've been doing this for close to 40 years now. We've got over 80,000 reserve studies we've done in our company's experience. Specifically in Florida, we've worked with a lot of large scale communities, and this is pretty routine stuff for us. So we can draw on our database of, you know, literally hundreds, if not thousands of other communities that have gone through similar projects and make sure that what we put into your study is based on real world, you know, market data for similar work. So that's the intro. Yeah.
Tony?
My question is, do you prioritize for us? In other words, if we need this done or this done or this done, do you say, you know, this is your highest priority?
Yeah, we certainly can do that. I mean, each component in the study gets its own assignment of remaining life expectancy. But if there's a situation where, you know, let's say you've got 2 or 3 projects that are all scheduled to happen around the same time, and there's not going to be enough money at that point to do that, and you want to get some guidance about, okay, well, which one is the most critical for us? We can certainly give you that kind of guidance, but we don't necessarily pick and choose which ones to fund. It's
Okay.
everything is getting funded, but
Okay,
we can help walk you through that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would go to the appropriate
Right,
committees,
to,
you know.
to back to us again, okay, got it.
Now, what would our next steps be? Can you?
Yeah. Well, I'd need to get a little bit more information about the community. I've got kind of the basic overview and understanding, but what I probably want to do is have one of our staff go out there and just take kind of like a driving tour, just to kind of see everything that UCO maintains and is responsible for. And then we'll put together our proposal. That shouldn't take us too long. I mean, once we've done our kind of site visit, proposal should be able to be sent out within a week or so after that. And then I had mentioned to Donald, we're actually effectively booked through the end of this year. So we'd actually have to tackle the work sometime in early 2025. But we can get you a proposal now so you'll understand what that cost and what's included in that. And then if it looks good, we can take your signed proposal this fall and start to schedule for early next year.
That'd be great, cause yeah, as soon as you can, arrange, Donald, you'll do the honors for taking someone around to do the physical.
And it's very nice to say he'll be going around with a car, but I've worked with his operatives before.
Yeah,
They lost some weight for 2 months. They went over the property with a fine tooth comb.
good.
Is there anything already put in a ballpark, put in this year's budget for next year?
We when we talked to Mike about it, the general consensus is that typically the proposal, the evaluation isn't an enormous amount of money. So it would come out of infrastructure and we would just go to delegate assembly for approval. Anything over $2,500 to do the initial engineering work, put it that way.
Okay.
Keep it out of the budget, in
Okay.
other words.
I'm
Make
only
it,
asking.
yeah, cause it's not an everyday operating kind of,
I understand.
it's a reserve, so
Okay.
the infrastructure reserve will support plenty. All right,
Joanne,
yes,
Joanne,
Yeah.
I have a question for Will, if I could.
sure,
Will, certainly our road system and all the infrastructure going along with it, including the drainage, is our big ticket item. And where we lack expertise, or at least myself, is really assessing, what we should be doing when the roads need to be redone. In other words, trying to get an assessment of our drainage of what we should do, but also with the roads, whether we're doing an overlay or where we need to reassess whether we need to improve the base layer or the foundation, if you would, for the road. That's pretty in-depth. Is that something that we're going to get out of our reserve study, or am I reaching too far?
That's a bit more than what we do. So just to clarify, I guess the caliber of the inspection we're doing is visual only. What you're describing, where it may involve re-leveling the base course or doing anything beneath the surface that is kind of above and beyond what you would do in a normal resurfacing, you might want to do some core sampling of the roads.
Have that available.
Yeah.
That's done.
Great. All right. Well, then in that case, then that's
That was
excellent
done, what, 4
information to
years
have.
ago?
So-
5 years, 4 or 5 years ago, we already had
Right.
an engineering group come in. They did, I forgot how many, it was a substantial amount of,
It was a sample of all sections.
it was a sample of all over the village, and some could be just repaired and others needed to be totally done. We have that available for you.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful then. Yeah, a reserve study, I like to say, is kind of like an aggregator of information. So any other third parties you've engaged with, civil engineers, geotechnical engineers, paving companies, anybody else who has also done inspections or produced reports related to any of these components, if you feed those into our system, that helps, because then we're taking advantage of other people's information as well. We're still going to do our own visual inspection. We're going to look for the typical, telltale signs of raveling and various types of cracking and settlement and, all the things that indicate there might be a problem that's beyond the kind of a normal mill and overlay, which is what we typically recommend. So yeah, we can certainly help you with that, but going to the drainage, that's another one where we can't see the drainage. If you've got site plans, we can review to establish where drains are. if we can establish lengths of pipe, that's all very helpful information, but we don't do any excavation or any core sampling or anything like that ourselves. So and my understanding of the community was built in the late 60s. So if you've got some original piping and infrastructure that's been there all along, there's a good chance it's probably not in great shape. And so you might need a combination of a reserve study along with some of these other types of experts to properly diagnose what's going on there. Our role is more of a financial planning service. We have some of the knowledge and some of the capability to come up with those life expectancies and costs on our own. But if we can supplement that with any other information you've already obtained, to me, that usually makes for a better outcome.
That does answer my question. Thanks, Will. But it also brings us to the point where the quality of the reserve study and the accuracy, if you would, of the study really depends upon coming up with the true cost at the end of the life expectancy. And, maybe we'll, given that's so important to us and so valuable, if you need additional studies or work from experts that we don't already have, if we're going to get the value out of this, I think we need to do that work prior to you doing the reserve study. So it really a coordinated effort maybe between you and Donald to say, if you want this, then you're going to need to go to this expert and get a little more information that you can use to put into your process.
I think that's a good idea, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, especially given the size and the magnitude of the community, we're not talking about one little street with 25 homes on it, right? It's going to be a multi-million-dollar project, and I would feel a lot more comfortable if I were you, if you worked with us in conjunction with somebody else to go beyond what you do in a reserve study. I mean, I'm not trying to talk ourselves out of work here. We do a pretty thorough inspection, and we have done many, many reserve studies without any third-party guidance. But when you're talking about subsurface utilities and drainage in an older community, we can't see any of that ourselves. So these days, what a lot of companies will do is come in and send in like a remote controlled vehicle with a camera on it. You can actually kind of drive down the length of the pipes and see what condition they're in, what the diameters of those pipes are, check them against the original site plans, and really just see what's going on here. Do you need a comprehensive reconstruction of the piping? Probably not. But are there sections that are failing and might need to be fully replaced or relined? Maybe so. A lot of what we do is working with our communities to find out what have they done in the past, right? Is there a pattern of expenses you're seeing where every so often you get a failure and you have to spend, $15,000, $20,000 to replace a piece of pipe? And is that chronic and consistent around different parts of the community? Is that a pattern that we can expect to continue? At the very least, we can put some funding away for that and recommend that you assume you will continue to have failures like that and you need a budget for them. But if it's getting to the point where there's really some ticking time bomb there, that's where I would say, you probably want to have somebody come in and do some kind of camera inspection or excavation, figure out what's going on. And then we can integrate that into our report along with all the other stuff. I mean, I'm speaking real specifically about roads and drainage right now, but everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we don't need any guidance to measure or qualify fencing or any other infrastructure that you have. Anything that's visible and tangible, we can deal with that on our own. But it's really the things that are beneath the surface where those can be kind of a gray area.
You'll be happy to know that we've already done that scoping of the pipes in the last five years.
Perfect.
So
that's fantastic. Okay, then great.
I got lots of video for you.
All right. Yeah. So that's what I would like to see. If we can take a look at that before we put together our proposal, I'd like to do that just to make sure that, I have a good understanding of what's there. And it sounds like we're already a few steps down the road there. That would be great.
Okay.
I have two quick questions, if I may. Okay. Number one, will you also be examining the pools and its utilities? Number two, how do you take care of inflation as time goes on in your reserve study?
Sure. Well, so far the discussion I've been having with Donald is just for UCO, which doesn't have any responsibility for any of the pool or recreation facilities, as I understand it.
No
So-
pools. You
Right, so-
maintains no pools.
Right, so if that's the case, then no, we wouldn't be looking at any of that. Obviously, we could put together a proposal for the recreation elements as well, but that would be a totally different topic. With regard to inflation, what we do in our studies is, again, I mentioned it's a 30-year forecast. And so what we do is we plug in the current cost of any given project, what, if you had to do this today, roughly what is it today's prices? And then we put in an annual inflation factor to try to assume what it will be down the road. And typically we use 3% per year. I found that to be a pretty historically reasonable average. Obviously, it's more volatile from one year to the next, but when you look at a long enough timeline, and I have done this exercise, if you look backwards and chop out any 30-year stretch of time in recent US history, then you look at the average annual inflation rate year over year over a long enough period, very reliably comes down to anywhere from 2.5% to 3%. So we do build in inflation. We're trying to hit that moving target, what it will be in the future, so that you're not going to be shorthanded when the project comes along.
So Don, just for your consideration, should we be looking at the pool and other recreational items?
We don't own the pools. WPRF owns all the recreational facilities. We own none.
Okay,
We own
That's fine.
roads and 5 buildings.
gotcha. All right, thank you.
All right, Donald walked out of the room, unfortunately. He will be in touch, Will, and
Okay.
we'll get going on that, and I really look forward to it. Because this is exactly when I became treasurer, when I look at, we have a reserve. And it's a guess, every year we take a stab at, well, we paid this for this 10 years ago, we paid this for that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And, we've had some costs that we've had to, something collapsed, we have to fix it, I'd really rather plan if the drainage system needs to be looked at again from a different angle. I just think I'd like to see the reserve funds legitimized. And if they need adjustment, they need adjustment. That's what we need to present to our members, so.
That's exactly what we do. I think that's really the value that we provide as a company is we're an independent third party who, this is all we do all day, every day. We're not a construction company. We're not project managers. We're angling towards doing any of this work. We're strictly there to give you financial guidance about what you can expect. And we have, like I mentioned, I think this year we'll end up doing more than 1,000 reserve studies all over Florida. So we have a huge amount of real world data and market pricing and, comparable examples that we've seen for other communities. And that's how we put together our studies, is based on actual market insight from Florida communities, not some national database or, this may be accurate in Arizona or Colorado, but, in Florida, things are different. So that's the kind of the source of what we do.
That's perfect, because a 50-year-old community, I don't think anything this sort of comprehensive has been looked at, to my knowledge. So I think being 50 years old, we really need to take a very serious look at ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah, and we've dealt with like I mentioned, large communities before. I think our largest client geographically is up in Kissimmee, and it's a large master association of 25,000 homes, if you can believe that. And so they have got tons of infrastructure and amenities. I think our largest community in terms of road volume was a community up in South Carolina that had, I think, 82 or 83 miles of private roads. And so in that case, we were working with a local engineering firm who did what they called a pavement condition index, and then we kind of modeled that into their financial plan to advise them about repaving all of those roads. So fortunately, you guys don't have anything near that scale, but we've been able to tackle big things like that before.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to your proposal.
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate the time. Yeah, I guess I'll just follow up with Donald and we'll continue the conversation there. But was there anything else for me before I go?
That's it. Anybody else?
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much. I appreciate it, Will.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you,
everybody.
Will.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, I hope you all,
Yeah,
Are we
that's
doing
good. That was
other
very good.
proposals too, or just?
we're looking for another company to bid. We've asked a couple of different companies and Donald can tell you. Donald, have other than
Association Reserve.
other,
That's the name.
the company, Occupant Association Reserves, have you tried a couple of other companies, haven't you?
No, that's
Oh, I
the
thought
first
you
and
did.
only one I've ever worked with.
Oh, okay.
Find you know, one, sure.
Yeah, we're going just, so that we do our due diligence, you're right, yeah.
Absolutely.
See if anybody else would like to have a hack at it.
In the meantime, since you don't have a proposal,
He's
gone.
I'm with,
He's gone.
can we maybe have these, so the committee make a decision to move forward with because he's gonna have to send guys out and
Yeah.
how do you get a proposal from him unless he does his
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, do we need to, I thought we had agreed on that already.
So we need an
Oh,
RFP, that's
no.
what you're, that's what
Yeah,
you're
it's not
asking.
even that way, he can't give you an RFP unless he sends people on this property
Right,
to do the legwork,
right.
that's not free.
It's not
I'd
for,
be happy
Did
to
he
make a
quote-
motion,
So,
because he couldn't, maybe he couldn't
Yeah.
quote.
Right?
If you want
Okay.
a motion.
so what's the
Sure.
quote on
Alright.
it? How much does that cost? To have them just come
We
out?
don't know yet.
We don't.
We don't know, he's gonna
It's
tell.
Man hours.
Fan out.
Yes.
It's man hours.
Right.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'll, as I get more information, I'll feed it back to the committee and to the officers when it be done. But what I'm looking for is direction to allow these people on the property to start their exploratory work.
You worked on him before.
Yeah, just recently, yeah. And then, like I said, it's my first and only time with one of these companies. My experience was very good.
But I think we should put an RFP together, or exactly what we're requesting.
Here's the thing, fellas, I hear what you're saying, except none of us here, and myself included, are qualified to create an RFP. That's the reason we're hiring them. They're subject
think-
experts on.
are you,
But what we're
are you
asking
saying an RFP for a
For
reserve study?
a reserve study, this is, like, he's talking above ground, we're talking below ground. So my question is, should we be, the RFP should be, we need a reserve study for above ground and below ground infrastructure.
Chris, you think Mike will put that together for us?
I think so.
Yeah.
You understand what, cause you have the video camera of the underground.
Sure.
We do have the core samples and stuff, we can give him that, but for him to put it together, we need to ask him, what do we want? This is what we want you to do. Put money together, what is it gonna cost us?
This is a little different than what they normally do, which is to do a condominium, your building.
Right, well,
They
that's
know,
what,
they know what, they can give you a proposal, they know without even,
right,
this is a little different, so what I'm asking for is direction, bring the company in. And let them start their exploratory work, and as I get more idea about costs, I'll share. In the meantime, you've directed me to look for another vendor, I'll look for another vendor.
Do you want me to do the proposal?
I'm like,
I'm
I'm
not sure what the
sure.
proposal is gonna sound like.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
that we move forward with Associated Reserves for him to ride with Donald and go around the village and give us, because he said he couldn't do any work until next year. He can only do the proposal, and he can get us a proposal in a week or two. And then if in the meantime, we get, so that's my.
It could be that there are no costs associated with it.
Yeah, no
Oh,
cost.
if there's no cost.
I mean, I said could be, I don't know, because the last one I did had no costs associated, but that's because they knew what they were gonna do.
Paulette has her hand up.
Paulette,
This is different.
now she doesn't.
Paulette, did you-
I do, but there's a motion on the table. I can either amend that motion or wait and propose a motion after this one is adopted.
Okay, Tony, you
I
made
made
the
this, I
motion.
made the motion, we need a second,
We need a second.
I'll second.
okay?
Okay, Richard.
discussion on the motion.
And that's to go ahead with it if there's no cost?
No, we didn't say
No,
that.
we didn't say
Well, that's
that,
my
it's just to go ahead
Ahead
with
with
it.
it.
Well, but we don't know
And there
the
may
cost,
be
so.
a
You're not
cost.
going to know the cost, that's the problem.
When we know, then
We'll
everybody
bring
will
it back
know.
to the committee.
Well, then it would go back to the committee
Right.
before we go
Right.
forward.
Everything goes
Before
back to the
anybody
committee,
gets-
as you're gonna find, as you attend more meetings. We may incur costs to
We may or may
find
not.
out what the cost will be.
As soon as we tell them what we want.
Yeah.
And Michael, if it's anything significant dollars, I'm gonna come back and say, you know that.
Of course, no, of course, of course.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Paul that wanted to
Paul.
amend or do something.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to support this motion to move forward with Will, but I concur with others at the table that we should seek at least two other proposals, two other firms. As long as we have the scope of work of that we're looking for, the below ground, the above ground, and the 5 buildings. But I think we do need to have at least seek two other proposals.
Okay, so
I
should we?
agree.
I'll
I
amend
agree.
my motion
Okay.
to include that.
Okay, well, then I would amend the motion to move forward with having Will's company come out and review our above ground, below ground, and the 5 buildings for our reserve study, along with seeking 2 other companies to do the similar scope of work.
Right. I mean, I realize this is mushy ground we're on right now, but this is also ground we've never been on before in 50 years. We've never done it. So there's a lot we don't know. We're gonna find out.
Right.
So we have an amended motion. Do we have a second?
Still writing.
Hold on. She's corrected.
Sorry.
That's all right. Cause I'm, only as you can read it. And David had a question.
It sounds to me like this is almost like hiring an engineer and asking him to come and do something for nothing. Yeah, things just don't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be some type of initial cost from whoever we decide upon. If it comes to that and we don't like it, then we can go to somebody else.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know anybody that has, I don't know any of these people. It would be like me calling an engineer in and saying, well, yeah, write something up for me.
Okay, do we want to maybe table this until we find out what the cost is for them to do the proposal?
If I could,
Is the answer. I think we need to move forward.
Okay, Tony's saying no.
He already said he wouldn't know what the cost of the proposal was until he comes on premises.
Yeah,
Right.
that's.
So we
Yeah,
we won't know till he's here.
Okay.
and I think every other company that comes on, they're gonna have to come on, and that will work, and then come back to us.
if I could,
RFP with the scope of work, we give it to them, each one comes in and gives you a proposal what it's going to cost. Instead of them coming in and creating their own RFP.
Okay.
That makes more sense to me.
if I could, I agree with Fausto 100%, that the procedure is to have Chris help us work up our RFP. So they're all looking at the same thing when we have them come out. It's very common for engineering firms to send a person out to feel us out and to look at the RFP prior to making a bid and do that without any cost. These guys are doing 1,000, reserve studies in this year. They're used to coming out and throwing quotes around. They have that information at their fingertips. They just need to do a visit ahead of time. So I don't think it's wrong to have the RFP and then approach 2 other companies, have them come out in addition to Will, and then have them give us a quote based on the RFP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want,
Richard?
do we want it all in one motion, get Will and 2 others, or do perhaps 2 motions, hire, get Will and then a separate motion to consult with 2 others?
I have a question.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, I'm not addressing yours, but my question is, do we know what we want in the RFP?
That's the point.
That's the point, well, how?
The point is to do a reserve study of our roads, major infrastructure above and below ground.
Is that all you want done?
That's all you want.
Yeah, that is all.
That's
I
all,
mean,
that's all we know.
That's not what he spoke of.
That, well, that, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all we really
He
own.
said the boxes, the this, the that, the light poles, the fencing,
No.
he said all of them.
Yeah,
That's
no, he
above
doesn't.
and below ground.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, the infrastructure.
Yeah, see, the RFP comes first, before
Right,
you even have Will come out.
right,
And the RFP will identify all the components that we want to have them assessed. And it
Right.
also should have in there the background information that we have on our roads and the background information on our drainage system. So they all know what information they're gonna have at their fingertips, because that affects their bids. And then have them come out and give us bids. I really would be surprised, honestly, if that coming out and looking over a project as big as ours isn't something they do just so that they can present the bid. They're not gonna charge us, in other words.
but you're asking them to come in, tell us what we need. And tell us how much it's gonna cost. We should be telling them what we want. We're not responsible for the swimming pools and this and that. We're responsible for major things that we would be responsible for. The roads and the basic infrastructure. What's underneath, the drainage system.
okay, so that's all you want, see, that's not what was said. And now that's what's coming out, that you only want the roads and the infra, below the roads. But the man mentioned the fences, the light poles, all of these other
Yeah.
things, so if you're gonna eliminate those.
Oh, I guess maybe it's a determinant.
I didn't.
We're not.
Exactly, so that's what I'm saying, you just have to clarify.
The specifics.
They don't own the light pole,
Yeah.
they're owned by the Florida Power and Light.
Anything infrastructure.
Yeah.
So like Fausto is trying to say is the RFP comes first. And the RFP, we identify those components we want to have as part of the infrastructure. I mean, as far as the reserve study. And then Chris is going to try to help us, I believe, put together the RFP. And then you invite the people on the ground with all that information. So it is pretty straightforward.
If you do that, you have to then submit it to the bid committee.
Yeah, of course. That would have-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I would withdraw my. Madam Chair, I would withdraw my amended motion and concur with what Fausto was saying and others about developing an RFP.
Hey, Tony, do you?
And I'll withdraw my motion too. And then I'll just go back to creating an RFP.
So the committee is requesting Donald to develop the RFP with Chris.
I'll have it tomorrow.
And then has to go to bids and infrastructure, which will be next month, so.
Chris can help us with the wording on that, right, Chris? You can help
Yes, sir.
Donald on the wording with that, so that it's precise.
RFP will be prepared and ready for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a bid tomorrow? No. Alright. Anyway, thank you,
Okay.
However we do this, we just wanna make sure we're moving forward with it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's very important to me. Because, again. Back to the budget, I'm sorry to keep jumping around like this. So we've covered old business, we've covered the budget process. If we kind of keep reviewing this old, this year versus the proposal for next year. If we have no changes to this, I would like to publish this proposed budget in the Yuko Reporter. The reason that I'm saying that is the bylaws say that I have to make a proposal at the October delegate assembly. For the delegates to vote on. And that I have 10 days to make sure the delegates have a copy for them to review. Well, I think 10 days is not enough time. I think that getting it out 30 days in advance is a much better way to do that. And a better way for the community to see the whole budget is for the paper to publish it. We haven't done that in many years. I know when I first came it was, and then I missed it the last few years. So I would like this committee's approval to publish the budget that we have proposed, that, the officers have proposed. in the paper, in the September issue of the paper, and distribute it for vote. Unless there are any significant changes to be made to it. David?
I'd just like to add a comment. I think this is great. But I also wanted to know that it's not the reporter's fault that the budget wasn't put in the paper. There was never
There was never, no,
anything
no,
proposed
there
to be
was
put in.
nothing. Yeah, no, it's certainly not the reporter's fault. I can attest to that. It was, they weren't produced in that, to do that.
If we put it in the paper, can we put
Proposed, oh,
the
absolutely.
proposed budget?
Yeah, no, right up.
This way everybody's aware of it, you know.
Roll up and give it to me at the end of the meeting.
I have no
Yeah.
objection. I think that's a wonderful idea.
In lieu of a treasurer's report, I'm giving my proposal to the community as the treasurer. With the support of the committee. I mean, that is the way the budget is supposed to, according to the bylaws, be formulated. David?
I would make a second, but I think someone from the committee should make the motion.
Yes, I would entertain the motion. Richard?
So Joanne,
Uh-huh.
I guess we've got a second. We're doing discussion on the motion.
Yes.
My only comment is, do a little preface before the proposed budget in the Yuko Reporter would be wise, that explains to a lot of our new residents and people who don't understand the process of how the budget is approved.
Sure. Sure. As I said, it would be my treasurer's report, and yes, I would definitely, but that's a good suggestion, thank you. Any other discussion about publishing the proposed budget in the Yuko Reporter? Joanne?
Chris, can I ask you a question? He's our
course.
financial fellow, right?
Yeah.
I'm very good at beating a dead horse. Let me preface this. Is there any way, Chris, to go back to the bank and negotiate a higher rate with them?
Okay, Chris
Not
is,
with the current accounts.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else? I'm gonna go ahead and call the vote. Bruce Dries made a motion, seconded by Richard Handelsman, to publish the proposed budget in the September issue of the Yuko Reporter. Laura? Do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Paulette?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Bruce Dries?
Yes.
David Fornes?
Yes,
Richard Handelsman?
Yes.
Susan's not here, Michael Zaslow,
Yes.
and Julius,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, everyone. Motion carries, but the, oh, sorry, the officers, Fausto.
Right, we don't count.
Yeah. Of course, yes, David Boaz.
Yes.
Patricia. Dominic's not here, Kelly's not here, Richard, Jerry. Okay, David Israel's not here. Stuart, Jerry, okay, motion carries, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Joe. Good one.
Yes,
Yeah,
everyone.
that was the first one.
First one, sir.
That's okay. I'm easy to miss.
Yeah, like me.
For me.
All right, is there any new business that we need to talk about before we adjourn? Anything new? All right,
I have a quick question. I
okay,
have a quick question. Thank you. Chris Shepherd. Chris,
sir.
why do you think we cannot renegotiate rates with Truett?
We don't negotiate.
Well, we have tried. I've spoken with them, and a number of others have spoken with them as well, and their rates are set from the top. It's not branch by branch. So unless we move the funds to a different type of account, we're set based on what the rates that the bank sets.
Some banks look at valued clients as a relationship, not as an account. We're about $9 million, give or take. Telling senior management of Truett, listen, 9 million is at risk, is a totally different discussion than account by account. Why don't we try it?
I will say, while $9 million is a lot of money, to Truist, unfortunately, it's not. I mean, they profited $31 billion last year. Our $9 million, while it is a lot and it's great that we have it, we're not going to bully anybody around with it.
Why not?
And
Cause they don't care.
I think,
Yeah, but that deals with Truett not caring. It doesn't mean that a major money center bank would love to see in their middle market, which we would form small to middle market, a $9 million infusion.
of course. And obviously, if this was free money to trade, obviously we would have a ton of leverage. But unfortunately, this is something that we can move it into a different bank. That's always been part of the discussion. But I think doing that in the correct way is a sensitive subject, and I don't think that trying to leverage our current bank is going to get us anywhere. So I do agree. We do need to open different accounts, and we do need to look into different options. But there's a lot of work and due diligence that's entailed with that.
Yeah, but when you deal with, I'm going to cut it short. Just want to make a statement. When you deal with 0 to 1% interest on $9 million, so it doesn't come out to even 1%, because some accounts carry 0%. You have to average the total balance. So I'm familiar with large center banks, money center banks, probably better rated than Truett, which gives us an added measure of safety. And 1% is not even a starting number. A higher number is a starting number for $9 million. I'm just making a statement and I leave it.
All right, thank you for your comments. If there's no other business, I will entertain.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, Richard.
Entertaining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Overnight. And